Hi, James. Thanks for helping with my project.
That's okay.
Could you maybe say a few words about yourself?
Yeah, sure. So my name's James Bruton. I'm a YouTuber, and my YouTube channel is my name, so it's really easy to find. I do lots of robotics. At the moment, I'm a bit obsessed with building robot dogs. So I have a long-term project called Open Dog, and I've taken a step back to build a smaller robot dog to check I know how to make robot dogs walk before I go back to Open Dog or decide what to do next, which is called Mini Dog, and I've done various other projects, mostly robotics and pop culture oriented, with 3D printing, electronics, bit of CNC, bit of welding, basically a maker channel.
That's awesome. So you're really big into technology for sure.
Yep, I think so. Although mostly limited to my house, not to space, but there we go.
So talking about space, did you know that NASA is planning to return people back to the moon in 2024?
So I'm not sure. I did when you asked me about it because I had a look, but I'm not sure if I'd heard about it before. If I had, I'd heard about Donald Trump's announcement of Space Force. So I'm not sure how much of it was related to that and how much they were going to do it anyway. So I've had a little read up on it since then, but I don't think that I had. But maybe that's because I'm outside the US. I don't know.
Well, I've interviewed about 110 people so far, and out of them, I
Hmm.
would say only 10 of them had heard about it.
Oh, okay.
Um, and some of those interviews were in the UK. I actually go to the UK occasionally for work.
Okay. Yeah,
We
yeah.
have an office in York. Um, but uh, do you know the last time we went to the moon?
Oh, I should know this, but it was ages ago.
Would you believe 1972?
Was it? Okay. I was going to say I thought it was within my lifetime, but that's slightly outside my lifetime.
Yeah, it's outside
Yeah.
mine too.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. So that's manned missions, I guess. That doesn't include various rovers and the failed UK attempts for Beagle 2 that got totally lost. But yeah.
um, and what do you think about that? I mean, is space? Where does space exploration fit in your like views and set of priorities for society and things like that?
So yeah, I mean, I think it's fine. Ultimately, even if you just go for the hell of it, you're going to do two things, and one of those is develop technology, probably. So if the last time we went was 1972, hopefully there's some new technology getting developed this time. So that's good because it's used in other places as well. The classic story about Velcro on spacesuits, of course, but and microwave ovens, but I don't know how much of that's true. But of course, there'll be some new technology that will have other outputs that could be used in medicine or something else. The other thing you do is spend money, and that money obviously goes into the economy on Earth. So even the Mars rover, of course, that was $65 million or $1 billion, whatever it was, but all that money got spent on Earth, and they employed people to do it, and they used, bought supplies from businesses. So that's quite good that the money's spent and motivates the economy, I guess. So even if you just go for the sake of going, even if there's no actual reason, then I guess it's still positive. But as far as I understand it, they're going to do sort of looking for minerals or something. But I'm not sure how much of. I don't know. Maybe you can shed some light on it. How much of this is like a Donald Trump excuse for looking good, and how much is it actually useful? Do you think?
Yeah. Um, so I think there's several thoughts to that. Um, One is since the last time we went, we discovered there's water ice in the poles of the moon. Like the moon has
Okay.
a 1 degree
Hmm.
tilt with relation to the sun. It has like these deep craters and it has no
Okay.
atmosphere. So in those craters, there's areas that are permanently shadow during the entire lunar year, or the 28 days it takes for it to go around the Earth. Um, and over billions of years, comets have hit the moon and wet asteroids hit the moon, and some of those molecules have made it into these cold areas and been permanently frozen. So there's like, yeah, lots of water there. So that's seen as being sort of like a strategic resource that would make it easier to go and develop like a base on the moon, or to create rocket
Okay.
fuel to go other places. Um, but that only makes sense if you're already sold on the idea of exploring to begin with, right? There's
Yes.
no point in making something cheaper if you don't think it's something that should be done at all. Uh,
Yeah, sure. So there's a video about the announcement, isn't there? And they were saying that it's sort of a step to Mars. But the moon's only 250,000 miles away. It's like just there. You can almost reach up and grab it. So it seems like a good first step, maybe. I don't know how much practical use it is to go there, build a base, build stuff there, and then you don't have the gravitational force of the Earth to escape to get to other places. But I know that's one of the hypothetical thoughts that's happened in the past.
Well, and these things called rare earth metals are actually from meteorites, and
Yeah. Okay.
those same meteors have been impacting the moon, and it might be a lot more abundant and easier to get to, for some of the things.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay.
one of the thoughts was maybe actually being able to manufacture solar panels on the moon, launch them from the moon into like orbit around the Earth to create like big
Okay.
kind of constellations of solar panels, and then microwave the energy down.
Yeah, so I heard a similar plan to that, to actually put them on the moon and then microwave them down, but you'd have to have a massive track around the Earth that follows the orbit of the moon. But apparently there was some hypothetical figure of like $20 trillion or 200 trillion, I forget. But apparently it's the same amount of money that's spent on oil exploration in 3 years or something like that.
Wow, that's a lot.
So yeah, literally microwave, because as microwaves go through the atmosphere better, but sunlight doesn't. There's no atmosphere on the moon, so it's better to do the solar on the moon and microwave the energy to Earth than it is to put solar panels on the Earth.
And
There you go, or in
it,
space.
in space, yeah. I mean, the thing about the moon is you still have 14 days of sunlight and nighttime, unless you're at the poles where there's a
Right.
few places where they stick out. But in orbit around the Earth, there are these sun synchronous orbits where you
Yes.
could get 365 days of the year, 24 hours a day, sunlight, so with no clouds.
Sounds okay, but then how do you microwave the energy back to Earth? Would that have to be constant? So would you need a track around the Earth of microwave receivers, or would you have I don't know, store up the energy somehow, and then when it passes a place on the Earth, it beams it all back?
Yeah, and I mean, the other possibility is could you use energy in space and take some of the work we do on Earth and actually do that in space? Data centers and
Oh, I see.
um,
Yeah, maybe.
manufacturing and that type of thing. Um, so have you heard
Oh,
of
that's interesting.
Elon Musk?
Yes, of course.
Oh, really? That's not universal, I tell you.
Oh,
Most
really?
people say yes, but not everybody. But so you've heard of SpaceX and what he's doing with?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. The rockets that land on their bottoms.
Oh, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, I
So,
tried to do a project with Ivan Miranda, the other YouTuber in Spain. We did a project to try and make electric rockets that land on their bottoms.
how did that go? Is there a video
Terrible.
on it? Oh,
Yeah, there's 2 videos in each of our channels about building it, and then I went to Spain and we tried to fly them. But yeah, it was funny. That's about it, though.
um, yeah. So if it was safe and affordable, would you have an interest in going into space?
Yes, if it was definitely safe and affordable, then yeah, why not?
And just to kind of
Why not?
yeah, just to kind of quantify that safe thing.
Hmm.
Would that be like 1,000 people going ahead of you without incident, or is like the number bigger or smaller than that?
Oh, well, that's tricky, isn't it? I guess it would have to be as safe as flying. And even though they say flying is the safest form of transport, that's airline industry figures, and that's based on the number of journeys, not the miles flown. So if you look at the miles flown, it's 4 times more dangerous than riding a motorbike or something like that. But obviously, people only go on long journeys on an aeroplane, so yeah, by the number of journeys taken, then no, the other way around. Hang on, wait. So the number of journeys taken is more dangerous, and the miles flown is less dangerous because the miles are so much bigger. It's one way around or the other that's better for the airline industry. So I guess if it was as safe as that, because no one really worries too much about going on a plane these days, even though there's loads of accidents. But when they are, they're sort of few and far between, I guess, compared to all the hundreds of flights. So I don't know what's the statistic on that, and then put that to, I guess space flights will be relatively minimum to start with, so it pretty much have to be a clean record, wouldn't it, to be comparative? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it would take many flights to get up to anything comparable to airlines. So,
Mm.
but
Well, yeah. I mean, there was always already that Virgin Galactic test, wasn't there, that killed a bunch of people, and then obviously the others that have happened in my lifetime. So yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, anytime a plane crashes or a rocket explodes, it's huge news. So it's hard to
Mm.
kind of judge the safety as I mean, in cars, you have fatal accidents every day that don't even make
Oh
the
yeah,
news. So
yeah, of course.
kind of interesting. But I guess the thing is, a lot more people are comfortable with the cars because they feel like they control a lot more of the factors.
Yes. Well, we'll see what happens with auto driving, but obviously you only really hear about car crashes when it's a Tesla these days, so or a Google autonomous car, whether it was in autonomous mode or not. But yeah, that's the thing. I guess when everyone's got autonomous vehicles, hopefully it'll be safer on average.
Now, with your, building the open dog, um,
Hmm.
it seems like having a, multi-pedal device would be great for going over rough terrain
Yep.
where you couldn't like roll wheels. And I was wondering what you thought the applications might be like for, say, creating a rover on the moon that used the
Well,
walking.
there is actually a project going on to do that, and it's called. Bear with me one moment. I believe it's called SpaceBit. And they're basically doing it's the UK project, taking the first rover to launch on the moon, and it's a quadruped basically, a four-legged walking robot. It's only going to be a little cube, like a CubeSat size cube, so a 10 centimeter, whatever that is in metric, is a 4-inch cube with legs on. There's a promo video and everything. So that is actually a thing that's going on, and the reason for that is to try and get over rough terrain. Although the thing is tiny, they're only trying to walk 10 meters to start with, which is about 30 feet. And apparently they're launching next year.
That's awesome. And it's
Someone else's
called,
space rocket.
you said Space Bit, is that it?
SpaceBit.
A bit. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And I guess any similarities between their design and OpenDog?
It's got 4 legs. Theirs is more like a kind of spider with the legs on the corners of the cube, or at least that's what they're trying to build. Mine is more like a dog. I've got it here actually. Open it, Mini Dog 2. Let's just put that there for the benefit of the video.
That is awesome.
Yeah,
A- And all those
there we
orange
go.
and black pieces are 3D printed?
Yes, so most of it's, well, in fact, all of it's 3D printed. The joints are all aluminium tube now, with just plastic running on them with grease, and it's all radio control servos.
Wow. How many 3D printers do you have going at any one time? It seems like
I
lots.
own 11,
Oh, you only, okay.
and
Because I,
I've got 6 running right now, but they're making face shields for health workers and stuff for the coronavirus effort. But yeah, normally I have at least 4 running in a day, making parts for the next week.
that's pretty amazing. I was just printing out a Raspberry Pi case, and that take
Okay,
like 7 hours. So I'm like
right.
thinking about how many, printer hours, what you just showed would take. It
Yeah, so
seems like
I printed all of that was a 1 week. It's a 1 week episode. In fact, it's Tuesday's video is printing this. And the next
wow.
Tuesday is making it work. I think. Yeah, that's what's happening.
And that's it took all 11 or
No, I used about 6 of them, I think.
wow.
So there we go. Yes, and that's basically a good use for 3D printing. It's a weird use for the output of 3D printing to make the YouTube video every week, and then obviously I do YouTube full time, so that's basically how I make my money. So yeah, making content.
And do you have a favorite 3D printer?
So my channel is supported by Lulzbot 3D printers.
Oh, okay.
So I have only Lulzbot 3D printers. I've never
That's
used anything else actually since I had a 3D printer in about 2013. So yeah, that's the simple answer to that one.
that's awesome. And you just use PLA or
Yeah, all of that is PLA. I've done a bit of PETG, bit of nylon here and there. Used to do a lot of ABS, but it's all just PLA now.
and what do you use for the actual designing of it?
Yeah, so Fusion 360, which is free to enthusiasts and I think they've got various different pricing structure now, but they've committed it'll always be free to hobbyists essentially.
That's pretty awesome. And are you able to do any type of like simulation before in Fusion 360?
Yeah, I don't really. I mean, I make joints that move, so I can check clearances and stuff. I believe you can do like force and stress things, and you can also do generative design, where it will take away all the bits you don't need to make a strong structure. So you get this like weird organic looking thing. Haven't used that either, but you can do it. Yeah.
That's pretty awesome. Well, James, thank you so much for your time today. Did you have any comments in closing?
No, I think that's it. Thanks.
Okay, I'll go ahead and stop the recording then.